It's almost that time of the year, one of the most watched televised programs in the nation. The Super Bowl is this Sunday when the Kansas City Chiefs take on the San Francisco 49ers in Miami. For most people, it's something to look forward to all season, following an NFL from the preseason to the postseason. For others, this is the first football game that they're going to tune in all season. Justin Morrison and Rony Jerez will break down everything you need to know about the big game. This is PTV's special coverage of the Super Bowl. Guys, first and foremost, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Ready to talk football.
Pretty good, man. It's a Friday, so that's the best thing about the week. Let's get it.
It should be good. It should be a good one. It should be a good one. Before we get into the Super Bowl, of course, the NFL honors the day before on Saturday. So I wanted to discuss it a little bit. Who do you guys think are going to be racking up the awards?
Well, Wilnir, I think you're going to love this prediction, but my MVP, and I think most people's MVP, has to be Lamar Jackson. I mean, dude completely has really transcended the game. We saw that 30 for 30 that came out last night about Michael Vick. This dude, Lamar Jackson, is Michael Vick 2.0. Broke his record for rushing yards for a QB. Has absolutely changed the game, and John Harbaugh has enough trust in him to go for it on every single fourth down they've had. Pretty much, not everyone, but thus far, really a transcendent player. So that's my MVP. Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to have to switch out from Lamar Jackson and go to my man Derrick Henry. We saw what he did in the playoffs. I mean, this dude was an absolute battering ram. That's pretty much what the Titans did as far as their offense, was to give this dude the football and let everybody get out of the way and let him run the football down the other opposing team's throat. Worked against the Patriots, works against your Ravens. Sorry about that one. But Derrick Henry has to be my Offensive Player of the Year. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I have to go sticking the AFC with it. Stephon Gilmore, the best cornerback, in my opinion, in the game. This dude was a complete lockdown against the opposing team's best receiver any week, week in, week out. Shut down my guy, Amari Cooper. 0 catches, held him to that, and had an interception in that game. But led the league in interceptions as well on the AFC side. Just a complete beast. Also was tops in the NFL as far as corners, top 5 in deflections and pass coverage, and also opponents' receiving percentage. So that dude, complete lockdown on defense. So that has to be my picks for this year.
All right. I mean, those are pretty good picks. But I'm going to have to agree with you on MVP. I feel like MVP is almost a consensus at this point with Lamar Jackson. He transcended the game, as you said. And his rushing attack, he broke the record of rushing for a quarterback. And his passing attack, it's unparalleled. So MVP, Lamar Jackson, congratulations, you're going to win it. So for Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to have to go with Michael Thomas. He's a receiver that broke almost every record for a receiver, or he's up there with Jerry Rice, the greatest receiver of all time. So he was almost in the conversation for MVP as a receiver, and you almost never see that in this game when you have running backs and you have quarterbacks taking the lead on the MVP. So Michael Thomas, his offensive game was just, he just went crazy. Nobody could guard him, just like his Twitter handle goes out. And then for defensive player of the year, I'm going to go with T.J. Watt for the Steelers. He's a Watt, the Watts, that bloodline, that genetics is just, outstanding. So what he did for the Steelers under Coach Mike Tomlin is incredible. They stayed afloat up until the end, and he was the main force driving them. So that's my defensive player of the year.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see who brings home the regular season awards. But now it's time to move over to the playoffs, and this year's playoffs was a wild one. On the AFC side, the Patriots fell in the wild card round. The Ravens, who had the best overall record and the MVP favorite, as you guys said, on their team, fell to the number 6 seed, and the Chiefs came back from a 24-point deficit to absolutely demolish the Texans. Meanwhile, on the NFC side, the Saints got bounced in overtime due to a questionable no call on a passing touchdown. The two teams that got home field advantage advanced to the next round, and the number 1 seed will be representing the conference. Before we get into the two teams that's going to be playing in the Super Bowl, I have to ask you, what's surprised you the most about the playoffs this year?
I'll let you go first.
All right, well, I have to say, for me personally, I definitely alluded to it before, but, I mean, this dude, Derrick Henry's performance really vaulted them over 2 favorites to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion. A lot of the NFL experts' predictions as well. The first game against the Patriots, I know the entire country of America was rooting for them to go down, but I don't think I know you were too, but I don't think that a lot of people actually thought they were going to fall to the Titans. I mean, the Titans barely made the playoffs. That's first of all. They went on like a 6-7 game winning streak to even get into the show in the first place. But then to see them not just beat the Patriots, but pretty much manhandle them, and that just off the strength of Derrick Henry alone. Ryan Tannehill had a pretty good game in that one, but the Titans' offense really showed out behind that outside zone run to Derrick Henry. The Patriots knew that's what they were going to do. Mike Vrabel, who was actually Bill Belichick's assistant for a long time and played linebacker under him, really kind of outsmarted him, even used that rule where they run down the clock at the end of that game, which was crazy to see someone under his tutelage really beat him, but that was a crazy surprise. Also, next week after that, I know your boys lost that one, but Derrick Henry once again had their number, ran the ball down the Ravens' throats, and the Ravens had a better defense, in my opinion, or a comparable defense to the Patriots. Had some really stout guys on that defense as well, Earl Thomas, for example, but you kind of knew what the game plan was going to be. Derrick Henry's going to get the ball, and he's going to use that patented stiff arm to just get guys out of the way, and that's exactly what they did. Absolutely dominated a team that I felt like we wouldn't see even lose and should have been in this conversation right now. But the Titans have to be my surprise of the playoffs, even though they did fall in the AFC Championship game. That was just a crazy run to see them go on. And Derrick Henry broke a few records in that process, too. Most rushing yards through his games in the playoffs. Just a crazy performance from King Henry himself. What a just absolute dominant play from him.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. They were very surprising. Cinderella story all around for the Titans. But my surprising moment of the playoffs was the Chiefs coming back from a 24-0 deficit in that divisional playoff round against the Texans.
I mean, they did it in the same quarter, too.
It was all
in the second quarter.
It was like six. Like if you tuned in, like at one point you saw the 24 zone, you turn it off, and you come back like 6 minutes later. They're already coming back, almost tied, and they made sure that they ended the half up. They were up 28-24, I believe. Mm-hmm. That's not something you see. That game broke so many records with like scoring. The Chiefs scored 77 straight touchdowns. Unanswered,
crazy.
Which is, you don't see that at all. And 41 straight points. That also goes to show the coaching on the other side and the defense on the other side. And in the beginning, I was watching that game. The Chiefs, nothing went their way. They muffed punts, blocked punts, drop balls by everybody. And then they finally said, all right, let's play for real now. And they turned it on like a switch. Patrick Mahomes just went off crazy. Nobody saw this coming. But, who else to do it other than Patrick Mahomes? So this comeback was my most surprising moment.
I mean, honestly, there was a lot of great moments in the playoffs. But, again, two teams will be playing each other in Miami in the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about those two teams after a short break here on PTV Special for the Super Bowl. Welcome back to this year's PTV special coverage of the Super Bowl. The Chiefs were a team that was expected to make it to this stage in the preseason. After falling to the Patriots in overtime in last year's AFC Championship game, 37-31, they retained a lot of pieces from that high-flying offense from a year ago. Those pieces included gunslinger Patrick Mahomes, who regressed this season mainly due to an ankle injury that he suffered in the middle of the season. They finished 12-4, good for the second seed, and had an electric postseason run. I want to ask you guys, what amazes you most about this Kansas City Chiefs team?
Well, for me, I would have to say that it's just the perfect storm of a team. You have an amazing play caller in Andy Reid, a legendary coach that has yet to win a Super Bowl.
Legendary.
So, yeah, he's
a big word.
I think he's a legend. I think he's a legend. I like that.
He's pretty legendary. I think
bro.
so. Well, moderate. But, you have a wizard of a play caller. You have a track team of receivers. Tyreek Hill. You have Sammy Watkins. You have McCole Hardman. And then you have a great tight end in Travis Kelce. And then you have an improved defense. You have experience from last year, like you said. They played the Patriots, which is like the ultimate gauntlet if you ever want to get experience.
Especially them last year.
Exactly, when they won it all. So one thing, that puts it over the top is the generational quarterback of Patrick Mahomes.
Generational, I love that word, bro.
Everybody knows just how special this kid is. This is his second year starting, and he's doing things that, we're putting him in the conversation of already. When, it's all said and done, is going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. He just needs to start racking up championships, and, that might solidify it. But just the team as a whole, it's a perfect storm of a team. And that's what that amazes me, that this team can be so good in so many different areas.
So a lot of times we talked about, definitely I like what you're saying about the racking up the championship rings, because when we talk about the greatest of all time, it usually has to do a lot with championship rings. Now, I, for one, am not going to necessarily say that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time talent-wise. I feel like a lot of the times we talked about Aaron Rodgers in the past few years as far as his gunslinging ability, as far as him being able to kind of control the pocket, get out of it, move around, and make those just dart throws 50, 60 yards down the field. I see Aaron Rodgers 2.0 and even higher in Patrick Mahomes.
2.0.
This 2.0 and even better. Maybe 2.0 doesn't even sound like he's better than him, but let me not say 2.0. I'm going to go just better than Aaron Rodgers talent-wise. I mean, this dude is making any throw that you want him to. We saw him switch the ball over to the left hand one time and make a dime of a throw. We've seen no-look passes where he's looking at the camera and going, boop, fake you out, looking at the linebacker and throwing left to the safety. We've seen him make, 60, 70-yard passes down the field. We've seen him do amazing. The sidearm throws are ridiculous. That's another thing that came from his baseball background that's just completely amazing and things that we've never seen before. But the fact that, okay, last year he goes against the Patriots, like you said, gauntlet of a team, the team that you're looking at to beat.
The team that won the Super Bowl last year.
Exactly, that's the team that you have to kind of beat to get there. Okay, Patriots are gone. Now who's the next team in the AFC that you kind of have to beat? The Ravens are gone too, so it's looking like it's going to be those Kansas City Chiefs.
Bringing up them Ravens, huh?
I do keep bringing up the Ravens. Hate to do it to you, but it was disappointing. The Chiefs are the team to beat right now, though, in the AFC, and that starts with their man Patrick Mahomes. They finally have a running game after losing Kareem Hunt last year. That was a whole poor situation that I'm not going to get too deep into, but got a running game with Damian Williams. I mean, Tyreek Hill is a complete cheetah. His Instagram name, Cheetah, is correct. We saw him chase down Damian Williams, who's also one of the fastest players in the league. Travis Kelce's a huge target. McCole Hardman, like you said, Sammy Watkins, all great threats, but Patrick Mahomes is the engine that makes the train, the car go. And Andy Reid calling plays for him. They run motions, they run deep threats, they run everything imaginable at you. And just the fact that they put up 21 points in 5 minutes against the Texans, that's all you need to see as far as how quickly they can put up points.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add is last year's game, they were neutral zone infraction.
Yeah.
Yep.
Penalty away.
One play.
D Ford line and then Brady threw a pick to seal the game. The Chiefs had 1.5 feet in the door to go into the Super Bowl last year.
It's a game of inches, man.
And
Always.
that penalty, costed them, the coin flip, and then, Brady got the ball and Brady did Brady things. But that just goes to show how, strong of a team they were last year to basically be in the dance of the Super Bowl and then just fall short. And I mean, you got to blame the defense on them last year. They couldn't stop Brady, and that's not Patrick Mahomes' fault. He can't do everything. He can't throw the ball to himself. He can't play defense as well. So
he might throw the ball to himself.
You never know.
We
haven't seen it yet. He does all these things we haven't seen. But so they could have been that team last year. He could have already had a championship last year going against the Rams, and they only put up 3 points last year. That's a whole other thing. But and then outcoming this year, I feel like everything started to break the way for the Chiefs. They didn't get the Patriots this time at Foxborough or anywhere, and they didn't get the Ravens, and so they were the team on top that everything broke well for them. They ended up getting the Titans, where I feel like that would have been a favorable matchup for the Chiefs either way. So I guess it's a game of inches. Luck is a good thing. The way the cookie crumbles, but right now this team is firing on all cylinders, and there's almost nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this. Patrick Mahomes in his first year as a starter for the team threw 50 touchdown passes. So we're looking at, I remember watching, when I lived in Denver, I remember watching Peyton Manning just go off and have this completely amazing run with all these receivers at his disposal, Marius Thomas, Julius Thomas, and throw for, I believe, he passed the record, broke the record for touchdowns in the season, 55. Which was 55, right? But I remember when he got past that 50 threshold and everyone was, oh my goodness, Peyton Manning just did this. Peyton Manning has to be up there in your GOAT list. Peyton Manning this, Peyton Manning. That was after about 10 seasons he spent with the Colts, already cementing himself as a Hall of Fame player. Patrick Mahomes did this after 1 season on the bench. Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith, who decent quarterback in his own right. No Patrick Mahomes. A couple, so maybe that kind of sort of helped him, but I mean, that dude, even at Texas Tech, Andy Reid and those guys who were in the scouting department for them found themselves an absolute gem, and he really wasn't as heralded as people, some of the other quarterbacks in that draft class. They traded up to get him at 10 just because they saw the immense amount of talent that they wanted in him and that he fit that system. But this dude went for 50 touchdowns, an MVP in his first season at the helm, and then in his second season, he's in the Super Bowl. I don't think we've seen anything like that so far, but just the way that this dude can control the field, and not only control the field, and his talent is crazy, but his leadership skills, even though there were some jokes about the way that he sounds and his voice, and Tyreek Hill did call him a frog, he still has the command and the presence of a complete vet. He's only 24 years old, and he looks like a seasoned veteran. I mean, Alex Smith, there was nothing wrong with Alex Smith. Andy Reid just said, okay, we're going to throw this guy Patrick Mahomes in here because this is the dude that I feel like can lead us to the championship, to the promised land. Andy Reid hasn't had a Super Bowl ever. He went to one back in the day with the Eagles and Donovan McNabb. But I really think the Chiefs, they're looking at it like this is their year to go and do something big, and Patrick Mahomes is that guy to do it for them.
Listen. I love to talk about the Chiefs, but there's another team that's on the Super Bowl stage, and that other team is the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers were the laughingstock of the league the past couple of years. After losing in the Super Bowl in 2012, falling to the NFC Championship in 2013, the San Francisco 49ers finished at or below 500 over the last 5 years. Last year, they finished with a 4-12 record, giving them the second draft pick, and they got defensive end Nick Bosa with that one. This made the 49ers defense dominant throughout the regular season, giving them the number one seed with a 13-3 record. And with a turnaround like this just doesn't happen overnight. What led to this turnaround?
For me, I'm going to have to go Jimmy G. It's no coincidence. He doesn't play, they lose. He does play, they win. But that's basically what it comes down to. This first year in 2017, I believe, he started off a bye week in the later weeks of the season, and he went 15. He lost the first game and won 5 straight. And, I mean, that gives you a pretty good sense of what he won a lot of games. And then the next season, he got hurt, and the team just looked awful, 4-12. They didn't win when he was the quarterback. And then now this year, he's healthy, he comes back, and they're 13-3, first seed, and they're in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's not a coincidence. He's led them. He was Tom Brady's successor in New England. Bill Belichick wanted Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterback earlier. He wanted to get rid of Tom Brady.
Tom Brady said, no.
But then Tom Brady had to jump through some hoops. He tried to go to Mr. Kraft and be like, hey, I want to keep playing. So there's no denying that Jimmy G is a good quarterback, and he's the catalyst in this team. He's led them, and they win without him. He has good leadership, and he's not just a system quarterback. He has been showing flashes of it. Either way, but he's not the best thing about the part of this team, which is the defense. And I'll let you go into more of that.
I mean, is that what you want to talk about, the defense?
I'll talk about the whole team, period. I mean, let's talk about the 49ers defense that started off, though, because, I mean, these dudes are just absolute dogs on the football field. You talk about their line that started off, which I feel like is one of the most important pieces of a defense, period. We saw the Broncos a few years ago with their defensive line, Von Miller and those boys getting to the quarterback and really stopping. That's what won them the Super Bowl, I believe, against the Panthers. And even a year before that, when Denver played against Seattle, LOB, baby, Richard Sherman and those dudes absolutely destroyed them. I think they held the Broncos, who was the highest-ranked offense at the time, to 10 points maybe. I think they scored 1 touchdown during that game. So a lot of times we talk about defense wins championships, and right now we have the second highest rated in total points scored in the Chiefs offense going against the highest ranked defense in the playoffs, at least the 49ers, second highest ranked all season in the 49ers. But a lot of times we talk defense wins championships. Take, for example, the Super Bowl last year. 13-3 was the score, low scoring. Rams had one of the highest rated offense in the league with Jared Goff at the helm. Patriots completely shut him down with Bill Belichick. So if you look at this game, I think it has to be kind of a similar mantra when you talk about their defense. I mean, up front, DeForest Buckner, 6'7", around 240, 250. Nick Bosa, who could potentially be the defensive rookie of the year. Eric Armstead, who's also a beast getting to the pass rusher, but also go to the linebackers, studs all around. Go to their secondary. You have Richard Sherman, LOB, who's bringing that defensive mentality over from Seattle. I mean, these dudes are absolute just beasts on the field. And I have to point out John Lynch as well, who was a complete animal on the field during his playing times. Hard-hitting safety, going to be in the Hall of Fame. But he, I think, has changed. He's a GM right now, so he's working, money and front office stuff. But he, I think, has really changed that culture too. And I got to show love to my man, Jimmy G. I mean, nobody wants to really rate this dude as a top-ranked quarterback. And it's like, okay, what is the main thing that you talk about when it comes to quarterbacks worth in the league? Winning, right? 22-5 as a starter. You saw what happened last year when he hurt his ACL. So why aren't we giving Jimmy Garoppolo the credit that he really deserves? And I think that's a conversation we could talk about too. It's just Jimmy Garoppolo, while their defense is great, he's the dude that's getting them a lot of these wins to get them to the point they are right now.
I mean, let's talk about it then. Why do you guys think that Jimmy G is that good? If you take the wins away from it, you look at his statistics, he's not really one of the top quarterbacks. He's kind of middle of the pack. What makes you think that he's so good?
I feel like the leadership he's been under. I mean, obviously working with Belichick, working under Brady, that goes a long way. You learn valuable knowledge and experience through those guys that you're not gonna learn anywhere else. There was this one picture I saw that it was Jimmy G, Tom Brady, and Jacoby Brissett. Those were the 3 guys in New England, and at a point they were undefeated in this season. Crazy. So it just goes to show how well Bill Belichick runs his offense down in New England, and he knows who he wants when he sees it. So there's no denying that he was gonna be the guy in New England. He got his money in San Francisco, and I feel like maybe the defense being so good takes away from Jimmy G, the defensive efficiency. So they're number 2 in zone frequency. They run that 64% of the time. But then when they're in their zone, they're number 1 in least yards per attempt, which is at 5.7 yards. So that's, it goes to show how well that their secondary is. And like you said, and then Nick Bosa, huge part of the defense with that number 2 pick in the draft, a Rookie of the Year candidate, of course. But he's gonna wreak havoc as well. He's their pass rusher. So I mean, I feel like the defense is taking away Jimmy G's greatness.
I really have to show love to their coaching as well. I mean, Kyle Shanahan came in and really just completely changed the look of their offense and what they're doing from an offensive standpoint. But they just have a lot of weapons, just like the Chiefs do, so do the 49ers. George Kittle, I mean, that dude is borderline crazy to me. We saw him chuckling, or actually he wasn't even chuckling. He was laughing hysterically when he was pancake blocking one of the dudes the other day. But even the shirts that he wears, I mean, one of them showed Jimmy G in a little bit of a suggestive way. But, I mean, he really –
very handsome man.
He's a handsome dude, and I think maybe that's the reason.
Most handsome man in the league, to be
honest. Maybe that's why they hate on him. Maybe that's why they hate on him.
They can't look like him,
looks like Jimmy G, I'm not going to say his nickname, but you guys know what it is. But there's a reason he has that. So, I mean, he has weapons around him, though, that can really make big plays all the time. George Kittle is a beast. He's a pro wrestling fan. He's been that way since his childhood, but he likes to throw guys around, and he loves that contact. That's why he was laughing going down the pancake block. What kind of guys do we see doing that? Debo Samuel is, I think, an underrated piece of their offense, but this dude has the potential to really be a number 1, heck of a playmaker of a receiver. Emmanuel Sanders was a key trade that I think doesn't get enough attention either. They acquired him back in, I think, week 6 or week 7. This dude went from the fledgling, oh my gosh, almost last in the division, Broncos, to now he's chilling at Super Bowl media day like, yo, let me get it live. Let me get a video. So the offense that they put around him and the weapons they put around him, I think, have really vaulted him. But if you look at his stats, I mean, Tom Brady hasn't always been the most statistically great quarterback in the world. He has a couple of MVPs, but I think that winning fold, that winning mantra that came from Bill Belichick, that came from Tom Brady, we talked about Jacoby Brissett even doing his thing on the field. That's what I think Jimmy G what really separates him from some of the other quarterbacks in the league. It's just that winning mentality is doing what it takes to win. And I think that's uncoachable and something that came directly from Belichick. I mean, Tom Brady's not going to call for that many guys out to get out of the system, right? That's Tom Brady. He said, look at this dude and said, nah, get him out of here. That says something.
Listen, we said a lot about these teams, and after this short break, we're going to get into our picks as well as a little bit of some extra stuff. So make sure you keep it locked here on PTV special of the Super Bowl. Welcome back to PTV's special coverage of the Super Bowl. I think we did enough talk about the teams before the break, so let's get into the predictions. Sunday, February 2nd, the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers will face off at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens at Florida at 6:30 p.m. A high-flying offense versus a stout defense. Who is your pick to hoist the Vince Lombardi Trophy?
I have to go with my homie, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that dude is absolutely unstoppable. He has done so much this season and last season. We know about the 50 touchdowns. We know about the MVP. But this season was really that sophomore year that we had to look at and say, okay, is this dude actually legit? He went out with an ankle injury, and his touchdown numbers actually got cut in half. He's about 26 this year, but 2 interceptions. Oh, my goodness. And can we talk about just that he has a full receiver disposal or full receiver core at his disposal. He's got Tyreek Hill, the cheetah. He's got Travis Kelce, who's fully healthy. Mecole Hardman, who was just a rookie, is absolutely, one of the best speedsters that we see in the game. And Sammy Watkins has found his own and found really a second home in Kansas City after kind of falling off with the Bills. So I'm going to have to go with the Mahomes. It's going to be an offensive game to me, really high scoring, but I think the Chiefs have the better offense. So if it's a battle of offensive schemes, then I think the Chiefs are going to win that. Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid have a really great team they put together. They really have just figured out how to beat every team they played thus far. And you talk about, 20 points, 21 points in 5 minutes is all the evidence I need to really show how much this team can put up points and put them up super quickly. Got to go with the homie, Patrick Mahomes. Want to add that Super Bowl to the list of trophies that's going to be on a long list in this man's future.
You know, Justin, you're a smart guy. You dress well. You're well spoken, but it's a shame that you're gonna be wrong in this case. It's honestly a shame. I like you, but it's a shame. So the 49ers are gonna win this game. And what's the saying that everybody says across all sports, in defensive sports? Defense wins championships. This defense is elite. And they are going to be able to try to shut down those speedsters. Yes, they have speedsters, but, Richard Sherman's on that side, shutting off a half of a field. And Patrick Mahomes can be great. He can throw perfect passes. He can dime up everybody, but the receivers got to catch him, and they got to be able to make plays. And we saw a glimpse of that with against the Texans. Patrick Mahomes is perfect. But everybody was dropping passes, muffing punts. It's a team effort. So Patrick Mahomes can have the best game of his life, but if the players around him don't do it, then they're not going to win. So the defense is going to shut him down. And one thing that I've been, holding back to like a card up my sleeve is the 49ers had a #1 rushing attack. They went against Derrick Henry. They shut him down, but he was going on a tear, and it could have been fatigue, all that. But we got Raheem Mostert. He came off in an amazing game last game in the championship game, and that's going to really chew up a lot of clock. Defense and running game. That's going to chew up a lot of clock, and you don't want to go on a shootout with Patrick Mahomes, but the defense is going to try to hold him off as best as they can because it's a stout defense, and then the offense, they're going to chew up a lot of clock. You got George Kittle. That is always an option that he's a great playmaker. We saw that with a game-winning drive in a big Saints game during the season. So the weapons, the defense, the running game, and the clock management is going to be the downfall of the Chiefs. I have them winning 35-32. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be an entertaining game. It's going to be a thrilling game. But ultimately, defense is going to come out on top.
We got a nice little split down the middle. And, with the Super Bowl comes the Super Bowl MVP and being able to go to Disney World. So along with your pick, who do you think is going to be the MVP of this matchup?
I don't know how many times I'm going to say that word. We've seen it on so many State Farm commercials, but got to go with the Mahomie. Agree with you, Ronnie, that, he can't control the entire game, and it's definitely a team effort. Wanted to bring up one quick thing about the 49ers, though. The 49ers actually would have had a completely different faring in the playoffs had they not beat the Saints 48-46 in a late game that was actually ended on the goal line with the game-saving tackle by one of their linebackers. But they lose that game. They go play in Lambeau. They don't have home field advantage. They don't have that bye. So we talk about the game of inches. Maybe some luck in the fact they're in the Super Bowl right now. But I appreciate your rebuttal to my pick. Got to go with the Mahomie, though. He can't control everything, but I think he's going to control so much of this game, and that's going to get them to the top.
I'm going to go quarterback, too. Jimmy G, I feel like this is the game that he needs to, put it over the top of that. He should be in the conversation as, maybe a top 10 quarterback in the league.
The star.
So top 10, we'll see. But it's definitely going to help his case. With that Super Bowl MVP, he has to show out. He hasn't been passing recently, and I feel like he's going to be able to pass against that Chiefs defense, which is not the best defense. They have been a little bit improved, but I feel like he's going to be able to slice them up and go for that MVP and go to Disney World.
I really like how y'all went with the safe bet of quarterbacks on both squads, but that's not the only betting that happens at the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is not only one of the most watched shows on television, but it's also one of the most betted on shows in television. Right now, the Chiefs are 1.5-point favorites, and the over and under on the game is sitting at 54.5. Since we already have your picks to win, I want to know which side of the over and under line are you on?
I'm going to have to go over on the over-under. I think this is going to be a complete offensive shootout. My final score prediction, I didn't say it earlier, 45-35, Chiefs winning, but I have to go over on that one. I think it's going to be a complete back-and-forth game, similar to the one we saw against Chiefs-Texans. That was 51-31, but I think San Francisco's defense is far better than Houston could ever put out. So 45-35, but I'm going to have to go under. I think it's going to be a lot different than that 13-3 we saw last year.
Well, I'm going to go over as well. You have to score points to win, and the Chiefs do that better than almost anybody. But since I said 35-32, that's just above over, you're going way over.
Way over.
Yeah,
Gotta
but
go big, right?
but it's gonna have to come down to the quarterbacks, and you have to score. And I feel like Jimmy G is gonna be able to answer Patrick Mahomes.
Well, you already know if you got your money, guys, go on that over line. To end off, not only is there the over and under lines as well as the favorite lines, but there's prop bets that you can play on the Super Bowl and almost anything that you could think of. So for the people at home who might be wanting to sling some money some other way, what's one prop bet that you will play?
Well, for the people at home, I'm going to advise you, do not lose any money on a Super Bowl, especially if your team's not in it, because that would be horrible for you. But my prop bet, who is going to score in under 6 minutes? Is there going to be a score in under 6 minutes? I'm going with under. We talked about the offense that the Chiefs have. The 49ers have a great offense too, but either way, I think whoever gets the ball is going to score for us. That's my bold prediction for Sunday.
I don't think a team is going to score in 6 minutes, especially if the coin flip goes San Francisco's way. They shed a lot of clock with their running game, so I don't believe they're going to score in under 6 minutes.
Well, I mean, that's going to be very interesting, but do you have maybe another prop bet that you might want to play?
Oh, most definitely. My prop bet is the jersey number of the first touchdown scorer, and the over-under line is at 26.5, so jersey numbers from 00 to 26. That's the under, and then 27 to 99.
Yep.
And I'm going to go over. I like the tight ends, either tight end. They're the top two tight ends in the league. I feel like whichever one is going to score the first touchdown of the game.
Well, that's all the time that we have here. I'd like to thank Justin Morris and Rony Jerez for being here today. I hope you enjoyed our special coverage of the Super Bowl and enjoy the big game.